Welcome to episode 103 of the Sports Geek podcast. This week I chat with Steve Ziff from the Jacksonville Jaguars on sales, NFL in London, and arcade games.
Welcome to the Sports Geek podcast, the podcast built for sports digital and sports business professionals.
And now, here's your host who loves getting tweets in from podcast listeners, Sean Callanan.
Thanks, DJ Joel. My name is Sean Callanan, and you are listening to the Sports Geek podcast. You might be doing so on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or Pocket Casts. Please let me know what platform you're using, and if you can't find Sports Geek podcast on your preferred platform. It's now on Spreaker, I believe, and I think it's also now available in Windows Store. For those people who are using Windows phones, I'll try not to laugh. As always, you can always catch me via Twitter at Sean Callanan, both also on Instagram at Sean Callanan, or you can do the old-fashioned way, Sean at sportsgeekhq.com, and that's SEAN. Or as my barista likes to call me sometimes when I order my coffee, Sian. If that helps you remember how to say my name, you can use that as well. So this week, I catch up with Steve Ziff. I actually just got off the phone with him now. It's 7:30 in the morning. And a nice spring day, and trying to get this done before everyone comes into the office. And as I'm doing this, I can hear the garbage man collecting out the back. You probably can't hear that, but it is quite distracting for me. But anyway, catch up with Steve Ziff from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Good to meet Steve at Seat in San Francisco for the first time. He was actually on my panel on the first day, the one that I have discussed before with Andrew Nicholson from the episode of 102. He was also on the same panel where we were talking about, I guess, developing a voice for social and some of the scenarios around that. I do have an apology, which I've already done to Steve, but I'm going to do it publicly on the podcast. That was my third hour on stage on that day one after doing the opening keynote, and then opening address, and then my keynote, and then I did a filler panel that I didn't think I was doing, and then I did this panel. So it was my third or fourth hour on the microphone, and at one point during the panel, I scanned down the panel and I just saw Steve's badge, and I saw his last name, Ziff, and I thought it said Jeff, and so I called him Jeff on stage. So apologies. Obviously, it is Steve, but we all make these mistakes. So I'm glad that he did take my call. We have a really good discussion of what the Jags are doing in the UK, and also some really cool stuff that they're doing in the gaming space. So here's my chat with Steve Ziff from the Jacksonville Jaguars on the Sports Geek podcast. Very happy to welcome the VP of Marketing and Digital Media at Jacksonville Jaguars, Steve Ziff, to the Sports Geek podcast. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for catching up with me. You've got a big week ahead. The Jaguars are heading over to London to play the Bills. I just wanted to get started. How does that... I've spoken to a couple of people on the podcast recently on the importance of doing their local marketing, but then also growing their global brand. How important is the trips to London for the Jaguars?
Oh, it's incredibly important. For us, it's a huge just part of our sustainability plan. A couple of years ago, we made the commitment to come over, and just the ability that the NFL provides us with to create the experience in Wembley, be able to share that with our fans here in Jacksonville, and also grow new fans in London and the UK is incredible. It's allowed us to expand our footprint there. We actually have senior-level executive presence on the ground in London daily as part of the work out of the NFL UK office. And it's allowed us to build a fan club called the Union Jacks, which has over 50,000 members. So we're right now very focused on the continued success and development of our initiatives in London, and we hope to be playing there for quite some time.
And that's the thing, because the NFL now is becoming such a global game, with the TV rights and being accessible everywhere. But digital has really opened up the opportunities for teams like the Jaguars to go global, and to have a fan base in another side of the world. It's just an amazing opportunity. Like 10 years ago, that would have been really a hard thing to implement.
Absolutely. We're a very digital brand, and we like to pride ourselves on being innovators. I mean, that's the spirit of our owner, Shad Khan, who is a self-made man and an innovator, and he has allowed us, through our president, Mark Lamping, to just be completely focused on creating the most amazing experiences for our guests, which is why our stadium is so unique and so diverse and so different, but also expanding our horizons and thinking about outside marketplaces. And you typically wouldn't see that from a team that has such a small marketplace in the United States, but that's one of the really great things about being a part of this organization, is that we're allowed to dream big and think big and do big.
Yeah. One of the things I was looking at when looking at the Jaguars and setting up this interview and was your Jaguars Black program, and really, how that is to be servicing and really having that agency feel to helping all of your sponsors and partners to make the most out of their Jaguars experience, both from an in-game point of view, but also from an activations and a digital point of view. Do you want to take us through that Jaguars Black program?
Absolutely. So that program is something that we created really to serve a couple of different needs. The first need was really that we didn't have a branding package for our B2B sales process, and really it wasn't more about the products that we offered. When we were highly premium focused here when it comes to product offerings, it was really about the methodology at which our salespeople were selling with. So coming in here, having come from the Padres and before that the Panthers, where we had created these types of experiential branding packages for B2B and premium, here we took a little bit of a different approach, and we really put more of a focus on making it more programmatic for businesses to engage on this level. So, we knew that at the end of the day, there was really 4 core principles that businesses need to invest in hospitality, premium hospitality, right? They need events and experiences. They need exposure and recognition. They need consulting services. They need someone that's going to help them understand what to do. And they need a playbook for success. So we basically looked at those core principles and pillars of this program and said, let's build out a programmatic approach to how a business can take advantage of using something like our hospitality, but how also it's really more of a principle for their business to grow doing anything related to this, that they should be able to take away from our program. So buying the program became the sales process. So when we go out, or our salespeople rather go out and talk about to a prospective client about Jaguars Black, they wind up speaking for about 80% of the conversation, talking about asking questions of the business and talking about the program, not about product. And then when the client has theoretically bought into, yes, this is great, this actually is going to help my business, how do I get involved in this program? The last question is where, okay, let's figure out the best seats for you now in the stadium, right? Where in the past it used to always be, how much money do you want to spend? Where do you want to sit? Do you want to eat the free food? Like, these are the questions that are really reserved for the end of the conversation. And for years and years, and in still a lot of cases, a lot of team salespeople lead out with those questions first. And they've taken the wrong approach to truly engaging businesses on a true B2B level.
Yeah, it's so important of actually asking your sponsors and partners why they want to be a partner and what they want to get out of it. Because if you're selling them the package that doesn't serve that purpose, then they're not going to renew. That it's not going to be a good partnership for them, and it's not a true win-win for them.
And you said it exactly. And actually, one of the more interesting components of our entire sales process on the Black side is the business playbook. And it's a real playbook. I'm actually holding it in my hands. It's a leather binder that we created that is literally full of information that we put together. And I'll break down quickly for you. The guts of the playbook really are about a collection of wins and losses from over the years of different clients who have had premium hospitality and have experienced great successes because they've sought to do something unique, or great failures because they weren't set up for success and wound up with the old proverbial, and I've got the air quotes up, the old tickets are still in my desk and nobody wanted them, right?
Yep. And so does that program also then extend to then onboarding those partners to becoming partners with Jaguars to do digital activations and become sponsors and those kind of things as well?
It absolutely does. So, we don't see an entry point into our organization coming from one type of discussion. We see, we get to know businesses. We're very relationship-based here. So once we get to know you, we wound up having a lot of different discussions with him. And we also invite a lot of different executive thinkers into the conversations with new businesses to say, hey, we should have your marketing folks talk to our head of marketing, myself, or we should have your chief executive officer sit down with our head of sponsorship. So we're very encouraging around the organization of allowing free flow thinking into these discussions, because we know that if a business truly believes that we're going to help them, they may find more money and more opportunities for us to help them be successful.
So take us through the process of implementing Jaguars Black more from an internal point of view, because sales guys, do what they do well, which is sell. It must have been a little bit of putting the training wheels back on and relearning the craft a little bit to not go with this, you've got $100,000, I've got a $100,000 product over here, let's just match those two up. What kind of things did you have to do internally to get the program, get the buy-in internally with the team to go, this is now the system we're going to go with?
So it started with marketing. That they believe in me. So because I've come in and really shown them the way from a sales perspective that marketing is here to support sales, and we're creating this program together to give you a better opportunity to go out there and sell businesses something that they want. Now, we had an idea to do this, but we brought salespeople into the table and started brainstorming with them about ways that we could do this together. So a lot of the belief came from their thought process as being on the table. But what I think that they really appreciated was that we went away in marketing and came back to them with a program. So we didn't just force them to have to think it out and do it while they're trying to work and sell. We said, we need some information, some insights from you, so we can come back and present you with a program that we think will help you be more successful. And, we walked them through it. I personally took them through every step of it, walked them through role playing. We didn't call in a sales trainer. We have good, solid information givers here on site. And I think they realized that they've never seen anything like this before. No one's ever done anything of this magnitude. And they were probably excited to be part of something so large that they felt, hey, this is going to give me a better chance than anything to have success. Lastly, our Senior Vice President of Sales, who I've worked with for years, Chad Johnson at the Florida Panthers, he and I worked together. Chad actually was one of the first people to take a sales call using Jaguars Black and was able to bring back a six-figure client who was not going to renew solely off a conversation around Jaguars Black. So we actually stepped up in front of the salespeople and said, let us prove that this works to you so that you can find success with it. And I think they really appreciated that.
Yeah, that's nothing like that. I mean, one of the big things from SEAT was the collaboration, and this is really one where it has to be hand in hand with your marketing and sales department, because if they have that reticence of, I've done it this way, I've always done it this way, the fear of it not working and thinking, well, I know this method works, you really have to have that buy-in from both groups to say, yes, we're going to head towards the same goal using this system.
Agree, completely agree. If sales and marketing aren't aligned, everybody notices, everybody feels it, and quite frankly, nobody wins. So it's really important that the heads of sales and marketing are always aligned in goals, and that marketing really believes that they're there to support sales.
You mentioned before there your background with the Panthers, the Florida Panthers, and then the Padres. Now that you've been in those three leagues, what are some of the differences between the NHL, the MLB, and really the big player in the US, which is the NFL? What are some of the key differences that you've seen?
A couple of key differences, right? So in the NFL, we have many less experiences to work off of, so that every time we do a game, it's got to be a perfect experience because we only have 9 or 10 of them annually to work on things around, and we still get that same 4 hours between pregame and the end of the game that everybody else gets. So in the NHL, we had 41 of those nights, and in Major League Baseball, we had 81 of those nights. So you have a lot more experiences to deliver fans with something positive, or in some cases something negative. That was one of the better things about about working in MLB and the NHL versus the NFL. But the NFL, the resources and the passion for the game are two of the most important things that I think really differentiate this league from the other leagues. I can tell you that I enjoyed my time immensely in the National Hockey League. I love the game of hockey. Fans enjoy it. It's probably one of the best sports live. I'd still say football is a little bit better, but the NHL is an incredible live experience. Major League Baseball has some things it needs to work on, really the speed of the game and ways that fans can engage the game while they're at the ballpark. But listen, the real difference, quite frankly, coming back to my message was resources and passion, and that really gives you as a marketer a chance to do things that are very unique and get a lot of feedback on how they're received right away. So, that's what I'd say were probably the two greatest differences in the leagues between the three of them. And I know from just working around the NBA and in the arena environment that it's relatively similar and consistent. Although the NBA does a fantastic job with its digital marketing, so it would be fun at some point in my career to ever get a chance to experience that.
Yeah, I mean, the NFL, it is just because of that shortened season, it is, like you said, it's 9 or 10 major events where you're pushing everything all in. It doesn't have the longer season, the grind of, there's one game and there's another game that the NBA, MLB and NHL have with the longer season. As much as it's on the field, every game is important. It's just as important from a marketing and game presentation and a sales point of view because you've only got those 9-10 experiences.
Exactly, totally, exactly, and you've got to make them count. So if you have a bad game, you really, you could be stuck with 6 more or 5 more experiences total before the end of your season, and then 9 months pass. Now the NFL, all leagues do a great job of giving you these milestone markers throughout the entire offseason to keep people engaged. I just think the other thing there is that the NFL's bigger ones, like the draft, free agency, they're such big deals in the United States and worldwide that everything that the NFL does is at a very high caliber level and a very high class level. And it's nice to be a part of an organization in large capacity and sometimes in small that cares that much about the little things.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, the game experiences are these events that happen, but you're right. All sports around the world are trying to have that year-round approach and making sure they have events, manufactured or otherwise. Things like the draft or opening of free agency periods, or all these different events that, as marketers, we can at least leverage off schedule announcements, all of those kind of things that keep people coming back and staying connected with the game.
Absolutely.
Wanted to talk to you about a recent thing that you've launched, Jaguars Arcade, and some of the thinking behind that.
So the Jags Arcade is it's really interesting how that came about. So we have put a major focus. So we have to go back to talk about our marketing strategy and what it's really focused on. Our marketing strategy has been totally focused since I got here on data capture and lead generation.
Yep.
So every dollar that we spend is almost 100% focused and diverted towards things that generate data and capture leads for us, right?
Yep.
So as part of that process, we started to surmise different ways that we could widen out our audience and collect data. One of the ways that we came up with was to create a video game and go after not only younger audiences and get into the hearts and minds of youth, but to go after adults that actually were predisposed to playing video games, that like the sport of football or our brand, or are unclear about how they engage, and create a digital point of engagement with them that would allow us to be in their life at all times of the day that wasn't news or team related. Just an outlet channel that was data-based. And so we started to think about how we could create this, and I came up with the idea, so let's build a video game, and let's actually make it so that it's a freemium model base where data is the quarter in the machine, right? So To beat the game or to play again, you need to give us some very simple points of data that we can then append and begin to track and build a profile on you and try to re-engage and remarket to you at a later date. But we also wanted to make something that would have the potential to be viral and that's something you would pass along to your friends. So we started to focus on just the video game Duval Dash, right?
Yep.
And we worked with an agency out of Boston that actually I used to work for. Their CEO and I I've been great friends for years, and I just trust him with our money, basically. And they built the game by hand from scratch. Literally, we helped them design every facet of the game, from the creative approach to all of it. And it's a very organic game from the ground up. It's literally started with a piece of code. But it's got great moments inside of it where data is the premium. And for kids who play, it's COPPA compliant, and they're not asked for their data based on the birth date that they choose to give. So it's a great opportunity for both young and old. So already, I can give you some very initial results. The game is 3 weeks old, right?
Yep.
And in those 3 weeks, or 3.5 weeks, since we've launched it, we've generated almost 10,000 pieces of unique data. And of that, we have almost 70% of that data it's been entered is new to our current database. So we're already operating at a huge win, and the game is, just weeks old, and we haven't even really begun our advertising plan to help promote it socially. So we're very thrilled with the initial results of how it's been received by the adult population. Then there's tens of thousands of people that have played that are under the COPPA age, so we can't track them, but we also see that there are lots of kids, and hopefully they're all kids and adults that are playing the game as well. And the last thing I'd say about the arcade, so we had a product called the Social League, which was a social rewards program that was built by Lodestone, who's one of our partners. And we just surmised that was an outdated philosophy. So we decided to reformulate it and actually have a place where the games could live when we started to, because we're committed to building 2 games a year.
Yep.
So we built an arcade, obviously. That would be the most natural fit. But the arcade itself now has also been a place that we're going to host games and polls and contests and sweepstakes and prizes. So it's our fun hub on Jaguars.com, right? And I can tell you that. Yep, go ahead.
So this is at jaguarsarcade.com, and so people can go in and play the Duval Dash. It's very much retro, 8-bit stylings. Donkey Kong style, using your up key to jump over and collect coins. Anyone who's played Donkey Kong, Super Mario would know that. And the idea is you're just going to keep adding to that suite, 2 games a year.
Absolutely, 2 games a year, just to continue to build it out, to engage different types of game players. We have all different types of game themes that we have in our background. So we started with a runner game. We're also considering theming like true old arcade games. I'm not going to give away what the next one is because I would have to tell you if I gave any more away. But trivia games and flick shoot, all the most popular app-based games that are on the web right now are the games that we're lining up to focus on building out in the future.
And with people of our generation, this is not my way of saying that we're old, but we understand retro games and we remember, Galaga and Space Invaders because they were the first games for us. So there's that nostalgia for us. And again, you've got kids playing it, but kids these days who are playing games are playing, Call of Duty and they've high-res graphics and stuff like that. Has there been any pushback of, hang on, this isn't that fun because this is not the games that we play, or has it really hit the mark with that, nostalgia audience of people who used to play games?
It actually hit the mark, and I'll tell you why. We brought in all of our staff to our conference and showed them, not only did we show them 2 different creative approaches, we showed them a very hyper surreal, Final Fantasy type, gaming development, like basically what you see in the gamers world now that's super surreal. And we also brought in the 8-bit style. And we said, what do you prefer? And there was some feedback on the surrealism. People liked it, but everybody highly agreed that 8-bit was really cool, right?
Yep.
Because retro's cool. Then we also talked about the gameplay with them and said, would this be a fun type of game for you? And they absolutely saw the Mario Brothers, Donkey Kong, but really Mario Brothers kind of idea there, and they were like, we love it. We love playing it. It looks fun. Just make it real and make it fun to play, and we're in. The other thing that we also got deep into discussing was the strategy behind why we were building the game. So, we got lost in a lot of conversation for a while there about how great of a game we wanted to make. Is it 2 levels, 3 levels, 4 levels? When we boiled it down, we said, look, the point of this game, though, is to capture data, right? So it's not about building the best video game that's ever been created in the world. It's about building a snackable piece of content that's not too long nor too serious, because we don't know people. We know millennials and kids and even young adults are not going to stick with a video game that's built to be like, 18 levels of Duval Dash.
Yep.
We know that people play these things quick. They want something short, fun, that's passable to the next guy, and we wanted to create that. So it's a 2-level game. It's just fun enough. It's going to have a leaderboard concept that's being built to it, a Hall of Fame, if you will. And at the end of the day, we said it's big enough and deep enough that allows you to have fun with it. It's challenging enough that you'll play twice and stay sticky. And then you may find it entertaining enough because it's our brand coming to life in such a unique way to share it with someone. And if that all happens, then people will give us their data, and so far that has happened.
Yeah, and that's really vital because you've got a whole generation out there that wouldn't understand the term. I just clocked over Donkey Kong. Like the fact that,
right.
When you would hit 999, for the people who are younger that don't understand that term, when you would hit 999 and it would go back to 0, that would be an achievement on those kind of games. But that kind of reference would probably be lost on a whole generation of people that are playing the game.
That's right. So, if it's a game like Pac-Man or Pinball or something like that, look, those games they stand the test of time. They originated a long, long time ago, and they've been knocked off 1,000 ways since, and that's because they're simple enough that young kids can play them and have fun with them. And every time a kid finds Pac-Man for the first time, it's brand new to them, and it's just as fun as it was when we played it in the 80s because it's a simple game to play and have fun with, right?
Yep.
So we knew going in that, like, we could try to build a video game from scratch, and we could be very successful or we could fail because it'd be a game no one's familiar with. But let's just borrow some familiarity in code and make that code ours and come to life.
Yep. So October 25, the Jags versus the Bills at Wembley Stadium. One of the things, through my travels and going to things like C Conference, is that the game experience is a vastly different game experience in the UK. If you're looking at the EPL or if you're going to Lord's for a game of cricket, it's a vastly different experience from a fan entertainment point of view, and then also just the activations that happen at the stadium. Do you take that whole NFL experience that you would do at your home games to Wembley, and how has that been accepted over there?
So we try, right? But there are some elements, unfortunately, that we just can't replicate. So I'm not sure if you are totally familiar with our stadium environment, but it's extraordinarily unique, probably one of the most unique in sports. It starts with we have the world's largest video boards, and they're in full 8K. So they're the only 8K boards that exist in the world, and they're massive. And they deliver a visual experience that can't be replicated on any, unfortunately, any other platform. So we lose that opportunity. And then we also have, I'm not sure if you're familiar with FanDuel, the big company in the United States that is a big daily fantasy gaming company. But we have FanDuelville, which is our north deck, which is all laden with cabanas and 2 swimming pool spas. So with a DJ and a gaming component that happens during the game up there. So there are certain elements of our game experience that we just can't transport.
Yep.
But yeah, the thing that we try to bring with us, the more touchstone things, I think that's what the UK is getting used to, are the things like having a mascot and having cheerleading team and having and a different type of game presentation because, most of the football-based game presentations, soccer, football, in the UK are much more simple, and they're all about staying focused on the game.
Yep.
And in the United States, as you know, it's a fanfare celebration of keeping people entertained in such a manner that is not even sometimes football conducive. So, it's just different fans like different things, and I think a lot of the fans in the UK really like the NFL because the sport itself is extraordinarily violent and exciting, but also because it's what we bring over with us to celebrate it is so different than what they get on a daily basis over there in the UK from even the most passionate brands that they love to death. So I think they still are excited by something new.
And there's still that focus sort of at the core of the organisation for that data collection and lead gen and getting to know your UK fan base better by multiple things at the stadium?
Absolutely. So as I said, we've got a fan club in the UK. We're the only club that has the rights to market and merchandise in the UK exclusively. And that was part of the compact that we signed with the NFL in terms of playing there repeatedly over the last 3 years, including this season, And next year is our 4th year, and we plan on extending our agreement with the NFL long term as well to include more games in London over the course of the next few years. But the reality is that, as we deepen our presence there with all of those fans and become more familiar to them, it'll allow us to do more grassroots marketing in London. For example, we built a promotional marketing vehicle that takes Jag tag football, which is teaching the game of tag football, into the community of London so that kids can learn how to play football, American football, without pads or flags or anything that would be considered a barrier to them starting the game. All they need is a football, and they can begin to learn the rules of the game.
Well, terrific. Well, if there's any of my listeners in London that are going to the game, please send us a tweet. Tell us that you're going. Send Steve a tweet, at Steve Ziff. You're heading over for the match?
I'll be over there next Tuesday. I'll be there for a week, so I'm excited. If anyone would like to meet up there, I'm more than happy to see if I can find a few minutes to talk football or anything, marketing, digital, whatever you like. Exactly,
and I think the next time we catch up, we probably will be in London for Seat London early next year. The dates are getting locked down, and the agenda's coming together, so it'll be good to hear some of these case studies around, I guess, the Jags experience in London and things like that at Seat in London next year.
And I believe that Seat is going to be at Fulham, which is also a sister club of the Jacksonville Jaguars, because our owner, Shad Khan, owns Fulham as well. So I'd love to see, I think everyone will have a great time at Craven Cottage when they come there next year.
All right. Thank you very much, Steve, and best of luck for the match over in London, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks so much, Sean. We appreciate it.
Sign up for Sports Geek News at sportsgeekhq.com/sign up now.
Thanks again to Steve Ziff at Steve Ziff on Twitter. Please send him a tweet if you're in London. My listeners and previous guests in London, if you're around, please send him a tweet. Welcome him to London, and please let us know. Question to the podcast: let us know if you're going to the game at Wembley, the Bills versus the Jags on October 25. So send us a tweet. And also, for those of you who are in London and in Europe, please check out the Seat Europe website. SeatEurope.com is where all things Seat London will be posted, and all the details for 2016 Seat in London. So until next episode, as I've said before, my name is Sean Callanan from Sports Geek. Moving into summer mode over here. It's in early spring or middle of spring here in Melbourne, Australia, and starting to move into summer mode. Summer mode in Australia means three things. Obviously, cricket season kicks off, and also we have the A-League. I spoke to guys like Rob Skillichotti from the A-League. Their season recently kicked off. Expect a big season for season 11 of the A-League. And also the NBL. The NBL has been reinvigorated. Larry Kesselman, the owner of Melbourne United, who I'm working with, the team in Melbourne, has taken over the NBL, and taken over the NBL 100 days ago. And it's been pretty remarkable in what they've done in the last 100 days to build out a new website, do a TV deal, both a pay TV with Foxtel and do a deal with Channel 9 as early as 2 days before the season started, and to roll out a new NBL Live app and a streaming service as well. So they're doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Everyone who is listening to this that works behind the scenes knows how much work goes into both running a league and running a team, but to completely rebrand and relaunch a whole league in 100 days has been a pretty remarkable effort. And the first couple of weeks have been good. So looking forward to this summer ahead with a lot of work in football, soccer with the A-League, and also basketball, and a little bit with cricket. So it'll be a busy couple of months ahead for Sports Geek. I want to hear what you're doing in your part of the world. Please, send me a tweet at Sean Callanan, or reply on my Instagram, or those kind of things. Or if you wouldn't mind leaving a review on iTunes, simply go to sportsgeekhq.com/iTunes. When you're back at your desk, it'll pop up, take you to iTunes, and you can leave a quick review. That would be absolutely terrific. I think I'm at around about 87, 88 reviews, and I'd love to get that to 100s soon. Speaking of 100, I want to have a special mention because with episode 100, I released a double episode, and I think there was a few things at play. Episode 100 was with Charlie Shin from Major League Soccer, and it was a terrific chat. I really enjoyed chatting with Charlie. He's a really good guy. Absolutely knows his CRM and his data side of things. But I think a combination of, one, releasing 2 episodes at the same time, 2, the problems that iTunes users had with the update to the podcast app for the week that was there, where there was no podcast being downloaded and those kind of things. So if you're on Apple and you've had those problems, I think 902 update fixes those. But I would tell you now to go to Pocket Cast. It's a far better podcasting app and experience as a listener. But what I was recently just looking at the numbers in Libsyn from a download point of view, and not as many people have downloaded the Charlie Shin episode 100. And I really think you should. So if you have not downloaded it, but more importantly, if you haven't listened to it, please do. So a special shout out, thank you to Charlie, because effectively, because 2 episodes were there, everyone downloaded the great episode with Tom Halls. I'm not dismissing Tom's episode at all, but obviously everyone's got their setting to say grab the latest episode. So it looks like a few people missed auto downloading their episode. So again, go to iTunes, hit refresh, download. If you'll do it at the same time, that would be great. Because that will sort of help game the mysterious iTunes ranking system that would jump us up the list a little bit, but that doesn't really matter. But if you can jump onto iTunes, hit refresh, and download the episode, it's well worth your trouble. The sounds of the game this week. I'm still getting in a whole bunch of different clips from around the world. I'm going to be using them. Please, send me an email or tag me on an Instagram video. Or just send me an MP3 or MP4, it doesn't matter. Sean at SportsGeekHQ will get me. Love to hear different sounds of the game around the world. This week, at the end of this, listen in for the sounds of the game from Jaguars Arcade. For those retro game players out there, it will be a very familiar tune. You go to jaguarsarcade.com and you can play the Duval Dash and 10,000 pieces of data in 3 weeks. What a remarkable effort by Steve and his team, and it's only going to get better as they start rolling out their campaign and doing things like remarketing to those fans, but then also excluding those fans that have already signed up and targeting new fans, so you're getting new people. If you didn't download our free Business Manager guide to set up, you can simply do that. It'll have you set up with Facebook Business Manager, or Facebook gets its big boy pants is how I describe it to a lot of people. Just go to sportsgeekhq.com/business manager and it'll give you a 1-page setup guide to get all that working. Until next time, my name is Sean Callanan and you've been listening to the Sports Geek Podcast.
Like the Sports Geek Podcast? Find us on facebook.com/sportsgeek. Check out which teams work with SportsGeek at sportsgeekhq.com/clients. Please leave a review on iTunes. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/iTunes.